Hey, good evening, my friends. How are you? Randy, nice to have you along with us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Appreciate that very much. Uncle Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Uncle Johnny, Uncle Johnny, Uncle Johnny. And Johnny Bowler. How was your meeting today, Johnny? Bernie? Tom checking in from Carol. Good evening, Cliff. Good evening, Debbie. Appreciate you joining us on this edition. And Brian. John missed behind the mic this morning. Darn it, John. Bill is checking in from West Dayton Outdoors. Good afternoon, Bill. Good evening. I guess it's evening at this point, isn't it? David, Kevin, Captain Jim. Good evening, my friends. How are you? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Marlette's in the house. Can't say it was about safety. Okay. Bill says he loves the show. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that very much. Very, very much. But somehow I got that camera way too close to me. And it's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And if it's not, it's not. It's not like we're doing brain surgery here. It's not like somebody dies if I screw up. Right? Thank God. Craig is at a conservation dinner in Clarkston, but we'll try to follow along. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Is that the right way? It is. Okay. Ingham County's checking in as well. Tim, hey, buddy, how you doing? Ed Bolanowski checking in from Alpena. Couldn't ask for a better outdoorsman. Tony, how are you? River fishing tomorrow, then hitting the bay next. Tony, my skinny fellow shallow water rat. Is that a new mount? Nope. Got no new mounts. Good evening, Brent. How are you? If you are putting in for the beer tag, you want to hunt with me, put in for Newberry Management Unit, Schoolcraft County. I figured that one out, Johnny. Thank you. That's one of the things we'll talk about tonight, by the way. It's time for folks in Michigan to apply for your Michigan bear and elk tag. John says graduation is Saturday. Congrats, John. John Callison, the president of the CMU Bass Fishing Club, is graduating from CMU on Saturday. Heidi says, send some gobblers to the tip of the thumb. Elmer says, it's sunny and cool in Petoskey. I just left the softball field. My granddaughter Addison, and it was sunny and cool and windy. Hey, Kevin, how are things in Indiantown? Send some gobblers your direction. Hey, Heidi. Tim says, sun's out, you should be fishing. Tim, why do you need to have the sun out to go fishing? Go fishing anytime, buddy. Hello, Martin. How are you? Anyway, my name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday Night Live. On my season is a 6. That's right. Tim says he hates the cold. I hear you there, buddy. But the sun's out tonight and the wind is still cold. It's a sunny evening in Roscommon. Good evening, Julie. How are you? Oh. Well, why not, Johnny? Johnny says he's never put in for an elk tag. He'd feel bad to apply and get it. You know, a lot of people have put in for a long time. Don't let that stop you, Johnny. I just didn't have somebody I know get an elk tag as somebody I don't. Put in for one. Absolutely. Why not? Nice to have you along, Jim. I'm doing great. Billy, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I am live tonight on my Facebook page, my LinkedIn account, YouTube, and Twitter. Still haven't figured out how to go live on Instagram while I'm doing this. I know how to go live on Instagram separately, but I can't do it all together here. And you can thank Instagram for that. But we'll get it figured out. I will get it figured out. I'm not sure how, but we'll get it figured out. Ruben, checking in from Colorado, holds a nice steelhead. What is it? I can't tell. On a mountain stream. 70 plus this week. Let's get the perch at QC. Quanticacy. 70 plus what? Degrees? It is supposed to get warmer. Yoopers do not have elk. Johnny does have to cross the bridge. But Yoopers have moose, and we don't have any moose. Johnny comes down below the bridge once in a while. We're working on him. He's a lot less, he's a lot more social than he was. Any luck on the turkey hunt? All right, yeah, I'll tell you about some luck. You see this video right here? Look at that bird on the right. Whoops, didn't mean to stop it. Keep playing. Look at that bird on the right. She's a hen. You see that beard? She's a legal target. In Michigan, they don't say you have to shoot a male bird in the springtime. You have to shoot a bearded bird. And there is definitely a beard on that hen. In fact, a pretty good one for a hen. So when you ask how my turkey hunting is going, that's the only thing I've had with a beard, Joe, in front of me, aside from looking in the mirror, since opening morning. Arlen says, smelt dipping last week was awesome. Johnny says, we have moose and wolves. Are they still going by the point system and getting drawn? Yes. Ryan says, keep the wolves, Johnny. Jeff, how are you? Tim says he tried perch fishing in Quanticacy a few years ago. It was like fishing browns on the pier. Good evening, Dave. She's woke. Again, look at the one on the right. There's a beard there. You see it at the bottom of the screen, you see my crossbow, the limbs from my crossbow. Those birds were about 16, 17 yards in front of me. Easy target, legal target, but I decided not to take her. If you want to shoot a bearded hen, God bless you. I have no problem with that at all. I just didn't want to. Ed says actually some elk that cross over to the eastern UP during the rut. Our friend in Rudyard has seen them multiple years. I didn't know that. Hello, Paul. Steve says he saw a bearded hen and a white tom already tagged out this afternoon with a beard, 10-inch beard, 1.375 spurs. Congrats. Yeah, I'll make turkey jerky. I'll have Michigan brand make turkey jerky out of it. I think he's pulling our leg too, Johnny. Well, thank you, Ron. So here's the deal on my hunt. And it's been cold. It's been cold. I've hunted a lot this last week, and it's been cold. And I think I've been rained on every day in the blind. I have heard birds gobble on the roost. I have called in hens every day. Surprisingly, that group of birds right there, that there was 4 hens in there, including the bearded hen, not one longbeard following them, which I thought was crazy. And I moved over to my second property now. But I still think I can get it done. It's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. Right place at the right time. I'm going to go out there tomorrow and move my blind, my Wraith 270 see-through blind. Our beards on hen comment. They're not rare. It's not the norm, Joe, but you'll see them once in a while. I just know you had snow. Big deal. Big deal, Johnny. So you were plowing snow in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. Big deal. Arlen says he hasn't had very good luck. Ed says, honest, Johnny, I wouldn't lie to you. Bert just put his in for the Newberry hunt this year. Fingers crossed. Ryan called in 3 times opening morning for a first-time hunter. They were the decoys at 6:30. He missed 3 times. But it was a fun hunt, wasn't it? Turkey hunting is a riot. And I still think between the 2 properties, I still think I can get it done. The question is, hi, Barry. The question is, will I be able to get it done before the new boat gets here? Well, that is the $64,000. Well, that's more than $64,000 question. I was talking to Mr. Anglerquest, Brad Dupuy, today, and I said, Brad, when the weather's like this, I'm okay turkey hunting. I said, but as soon as it turns warm next week, I'm going to be jonesing to get that new boat and get on the bay because it was supposed to be done May 1st. But I think I can get it done here in the next couple of days. Hey, Jason Carsons of True North Guide Service up in the Sioux. How are you? My spring bear hunt, John, is the first week in June up in White River. You know what? I think that's more likely. Hey, Ed, is the Renegade Ranch still up? I have a feeling those elk in the UP, honestly, now that I think about it and Johnny brings it up, I have a feeling those elk in the UP didn't cross the bridge during the rut or cross the ice. I think they got out from a game farm up there. I'm sure that's what it was. Martin's putting in for Berger Berglund. Edgar, good evening. Been staying in woods, letting hens come to them. Johnny probably plows snow more times than I mow my lawn. Me too. Johnny says he's hoping that boat gets delivered soon. Can't wait for a walleye trip. Tim says it appears DNR has lowered the tags it'll hand out in Red Oak and also in Newberry and Bergen, maybe. We talk about that very topic on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week. In fact, now that you've led me into it, I'll tell you who's coming up early on the show. Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods starts out the show. Jay's the company that helped me get started. Without Jay's Sporting Goods, Mike Avery wouldn't be sitting here doing what he is right now. And I've never worked for Jay's. I've just worked with Jay's. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In hour number 2, the Yak Master himself, Dave Mull, talks about fishing from a kayak that his sport is growing like crazy. Nick Green from MUCC tells about his first turkey hunting, successful hunting trip. Then in this week's Ask Avery segment, Nick and I talk about the Camp Grayling situation and the compromise that seems to have most people happy. In our third hour, Richard P. Smith, the man you love to hate, you either love him or hate him. Kind of like me, people, hey, Avery, I like you a lot, or I think you're, boy, I almost said a bad word. And of course, Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Miner. Richard and I talk about bear tags. Bear tags is one of the things, which gets me back to my rundown here. Okay, let me go back to some of your comments. Chris checking in from Kansas. Good evening. Thanks, Bert. That's a long ride. Lots and lots of people hunt there sometimes. Do good. Okay. They raised the tags by 5. How do you say that? Amasa? I've seen the word. I don't know how to say it, and I apologize for that. In the second season, so they raised some there. Yeah, Dave Moll, Kathy says. It was done last fall, Randy. They made some changes to it. Johnny Bowler, I tried to have them apply for Newberry's third hunt. Good evening, Bruce. How are you? In fact, I saw it. I saw that boat last September, Randy, sitting on a trailer at AnglerQuest, and it was done. But they've made some improvements. And I don't really care because the way the weather's been, I don't want to be on the water anyway. If I'm going to be cold and miserable, I'll just be sitting in a blind. Josh, how are you? Good evening. Okay, talking about the weather. Oh, Tim, I have 10 points in the Red Oak area. I was hoping to draw this year, but with less tags, I probably will have to wait a little longer. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I think with 10, you might be good to go, Tim. Mike Horswell of Jay's Sporting Goods, jaysportinggoods.com. Mike is the guy, one of the guys I was dealing with when I bought that new 10-point crossbow. And he's a guy I've been talking with about getting that thing to where I want it. I have made some changes on the bow. I took the small bow hanger off the front and I put a bigger foot stirrup on the front. Not because I want to put my foot in it, because I just want to have it out there to protect my broadheads when I lay it nose first in the dirt. Johnny says, not sure if I can say this, but check out your guide very well. Chris says turkeys are now starting to talk again. Brian says the big lake was roaring today with the west wind. Ron says, try an owl call. They answered my call. They've been answering my hen calls too. They just haven't been coming in, which is, I'm thinking in the next 2 days, probably Friday. I don't even know if I'll hunt tomorrow. I just might go out tomorrow and move the blind. But Friday, I'm thinking, well, look at this, Ace. Ace McDonald says, FYI, Ferris is bringing back the BET program. Ace, how do you know that? Are you going back as an instructor? You've got your hand in that somewhere, don't you? I can tell you've got your hand in that. The broadcast electronics technology program is coming back to Ferris. Ace was one of the first people, if not first class, to graduate from that BET school. I was the second class to graduate from from TV production program there. I'm sure, Ace, I suspect, Ace, you've got your hand in there. No turkeys for you today, Mike. Jason says he got his bear app in for Newberry. Get ready, Johnny Bowler. I suggested Jason get in touch with you. What changes have I made in the Brenton? Not a thing. Haven't touched it. On the 10-point, I swapped out the scope. I put on Tacticam, and I put on a bigger front foot stirrup. And before I go up to Ontario, I'm going to go back to Jay's and buy myself some more of those very expensive lighted knock arrows and some more broadheads. Because I've had a real interesting time getting that bow dialed in. Ooh, Adam, headed out for your first turkey hunt of the year Saturday. That's going to be so much fun. You're hunting the Yoop, aren't you, Adam? The major must be a lot different in 2023 than yeah. Because Tim, actually, I shot my first project in film. Elmer says, hear anything about CWD in Newaygo County? Thought I heard it. I don't know. Very well could be. I just haven't heard anything, Elmer. Gonna fish the walleye opener, Gogebic next week. Mike, have fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Lapeer County, you're coming downstate. Okay. Because I think I thought you were a Youper, Adam. If you're not, my apologies. I'm still waiting to see if Ace said anything about being involved in that program at Ferris. Mike is over that direction. He said the CWD is from a penned bear. Of a deer. Penned deer. What's film? I don't know. Pan down your camera and tell me, Tim. Pan down, pan up. As you're filming your hunt, make sure you pan your camera down. You're not filming your hunt. I'll guarantee you that right now. You are not filming your hunt. And you can't pan a camera down. You can tilt a camera down and you can tilt a camera up. You can pan a camera side to side, but you can't pan it down. If it's up or down, it's a tilt. If it's side to side, it's a pan. Ace says, not me. One of the production engineers at Ferris is heading this effort up. Okay. The guys who were there when we were there, I'm sure, are long since retired, maybe not even with us anymore. You would be I'd like to see him bring you in and talk to the class, though, Ace. That'd be pretty cool. Tim still has an 8mm camera. There's just nowhere to get the film developed. If I go on the other side of these monitors, on the other side of that door into the storage unit, I have some film in containers over there, in cans over there. Not a Youper, have considered it, living in Howell. That's a good point, Ed. Who would even uses videotape anymore? I got some tape machines over my shoulder right there. You can't see them. Well, you can see the top one. That's mini DV. Yeah, who uses film anymore? Or videotape? So don't pan down your camera when you're filming your hunt. When I hear people say that, I cringe. Jeff says the legends, Mike. Okay, I talked about the bearded hen. I talked about the weather. It is supposed to get nicer now. That should make a little bit of a difference. Made my first attempt, Chris out in Kansas, first attempt at spoonbill this weekend. All I got was a gar. Is a spoonbill, I thought a spoonbill was a duck. Apparently it's a fish. Is it a smaller version of the gar, Chris? Good evening, Dan. How are things on the west side of the state? Okay, talking about dialing in this crossbow. It's been a challenge. I told you I was off. I missed a bird opening morning. All I can think of was that I had added a Tacticam. It shouldn't have made a difference. Spoonbill catfish, aka paddlefish. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. You fisheries biologist, you. It was shooting to the left. Johnny wouldn't know. He says, Adam, if you like winter 9 months a year, it's a great place to live. Shooting to the left. I got out of the woods. I dialed it in. I got it dead on again. Before I hunted this new property, I thought, there's a lot riding on the line here. I've had some people very generous in allowing me access to their property. I'd better make sure I'm still on. I took the bow out and shot it. I'll be damned if I wasn't shooting to the left again. So then I got thinking, what is this? Is this a scope issue? Because I took the new 10-point scope off and put the old Vortex Crossfire 2 that was on my dart on my 10-point because I love the scope. So it was shooting to the left again. I thought, this is crazy. How can this be? So I dialed it back in again. And then I started playing around with some things. I got it dialed in, and then I was shooting the Rec mechanical that I love, and it's supposed to fly like a dart, and it looks like it would. I could not get those things to group. They were all over the place at 20 yards. So in my bag, I had some G5 Montec heads, the old G5 Montec heads, because I've been thinking about for a long time going back to a fixed blade head, and I knew I was either going to go to the Montecs or the Rec FX4, one of those two. I didn't have any FX4s, but I had some Montecs, so I put those on, and man, that thing is shooting darts with those fixed blade Montecs. No, it's not a loose ring. Nothing's loose at all. I thought it was an internal problem with the scope. Now I don't know. I think it may have been a broadhead problem. Was the broadhead deploying on launch? I don't think so, Rick. But there's actually no way of knowing because by the time I retrieved the arrow after shooting at the bird, it had obviously deployed. And when I shot it into the target, it deployed. Another reason I like fixed blade, the concept of fixed blades is I'll never shoot another field point in my life. I will practice with fixed blades and go ahead and dull them up. That's fine. It was getting very expensive practicing with those Rec expandable heads, REK. Keep talking archery. Nugent might shoot up. Ted doesn't like me anymore. He thinks I dissed him, I think. Tim says he always likes fixed blades better for accuracy. So I'll be honest, on my bow right now, on the arrows, I have G5 Montecs. And that's what I'm going to finish the turkey hunt with. Then I will experiment with the Montecs versus the Rec FX4s, and I will decide which ones to take to Canada. And that's what I'll be deer hunting this fall with as well. I made the people, yes, he is doing his farewell tour. He announced a farewell tour. Ty trying the broadhead close with dental floss. There's a guy on YouTube, Death by Bungee, Rich something. He actually uses JB Weld, and he fixes his mechanical heads together so they don't come deployed. Rec makes a practice head that is supposed to fly just like the mechanical. But they weren't shooting the same place, so I gave up on that. Swacker worked great in my Viper S400, just like a field tip. Well, S400, that's what I'm shooting, Jeff. The S400. Too many moving parts on a mechanical. I've never had a problem with them, but I've just made the mental decision where I'm going back to if I can get them to fly, and it looks like the Montecs are going to fly, and I suspect that the Rex are going to fly too. You can use either type blade in Canada, Ryan. Keep it simple. If I was keeping it simple, I wouldn't be shooting a crossbow with a lighted scope, lighted arrows, and a AccuSlide decocking crossbow. But I understand what you're saying, Vince, and I agree. Why add more into the mix if you don't have to? Magnus Razors, Steve says. That's interesting that the Swackers, and it's funny, if you listen to Rich on Death by Bungie YouTube, he calls them Swahackers, but that's what he shoots too. Ed's over on YouTube now. Hey, Vance, how you doing? Vance says, I got some bulls tied up for you when you draw your bull tag this year. I appreciate that, Vance. But when I get my bull tag, it'll be from the Pure Michigan hunt. Did I put in from my bear and elk tag yet? I started the process on my phone while I was sitting in the turkey blind the other day and got distracted and didn't finish it. But no. Good old bear razorheads. So here's the thing on Michigan bear. They're issuing 7,000 Michigan bear tags. But something like, I don't know, 70,000 people apply. They're only issuing 260 elk tags. And about 100,000 apply, or whatever the numbers are. So your odds of getting an elk tag, you're not going to get an elk tag. I'm telling you that right now. You're not going to get an elk tag. I'm not going to get an elk tag. But if we don't apply, we never will get an elk tag. We got to apply to win, but we're never going to win. But it is funny, though, when I used to host the elk hunt orientation meetings, every year there would be multiple people there. Exactly, Ed. Somebody's getting one. Every year there will be, yes, they are rated for crossbows. There will be multiple people there who get their tag after applying one time. On the first time around, there will also be people there who get their bull tag with the first time they've ever applied. And then you'll have other people there that have been applying for 40 years and finally got their cow tag. And there will be other people there who apply their entire life and never get one. I'm going to apply for the Pure Michigan hunt in addition to my bear and elk tags. If you win the Pure Michigan hunt, you get a bear tag and you get a bull elk tag. And you can actually get two. If you draw through the regular drawing and win the Pure Michigan, you can get two tags. Ruben shoots Magnus broadheads. All we can do is congratulate him and move on. Yep. So here's a trick that maybe I shouldn't tell you, but now this doesn't make sense if you've got, 5 or more years invested in your bear points. If you got 8, 9, 10, 11 points, keep going. Go for the first season in the area that you want. If you are just getting started or you just got your bear tag, you lost all your points last year or whatever, you might want to think about doing what I do. And I didn't come up with this. I learned this from somebody else. Pick an area in the UP, maybe the Western UP, and apply for the third season as your first hunt. The odds of getting a tag are very good if you do that. The odds of getting a bear are lower. So it's a trade-off. If you go for the third season in the UP, you can probably get a tag. You might not get a bear. If you go for the first season, you likely won't get a tag, but if you get the tag, your odds are better at getting a bear. So it's a trade-off. So what I do now, the last few years, I apply for Newberry, third season, and hunt with Johnny Bowler. That's what I'm going to. I've hunted with Johnny twice now. 2 out of 3 years I hunted with Johnny by doing that. But don't put in for Newberry because that'll knock down my chances of getting a tag. If you want to get one every year, do like Richard P. Smith does and go way over to the Keweenaw, somewhere in the far western UP, and put in for the third season, and you'll get one every year. Now, the problem with that is you've had other hunters in there. Plus, if you in an area that has dog hunters, you've had the houndsman in there too. The reason I don't feel bad hunting with Johnny in the third season is he's got some pieces of land that the hound guys can't get to. So if Johnny doesn't put hunters in there first, those bears don't know if it's the first season, the second season, or the third season. If Johnny has Scott Gatza hunting with him, he'll put Scott into my spot and let Scott shoot my bear. But if your name isn't Mike Avery, Johnny won't do that to you. And I'm busting his chops because he's talking right now. Third time's a charm, Johnny says. Exactly. But if you use the bear whisperer, your chances go up, unless he puts one of your friends in there, i.e. Scott Gatza. And, I keep talking up Johnny Bowler, but Johnny's not a big operation. I mean, he may well be be basically filled for this season. I don't know. Your best bet is to find, there's always trade-offs. Yes, your best bet is to find somebody, figure out what area you want to go to, find some outfitters there now and start making contacts. Especially if it's, Red Oak or Gladwin or something like that. Newberry has too many prisons? I didn't know that. Johnny says, don't push me, Ed. Is Scott a better shot? I don't know. I didn't get to shoot at the bear. Can't tell you. I think I gave Johnny more money than Scott did. And a couple of blinds and some binoculars. And what's he do? He puts our mutual buddy Scott Gatza into the same property. And if Johnny lives to be 120 years old, I'm still not going to let him live it down. And Michigan brand. Zach is going to be taking some hunters this year. I'm going to stick to my private property. Who's Zach, Johnny? I don't know Zach. Help. Who is Zach? And how many hunters can you take, Johnny, in a season? I know it's not, Johnny doesn't have a big operation. I talk about him a lot. Other people talk about it. You might think he's got a real big operation, but he doesn't. It's a small family operation. Now, when I go to, I love Darton. Missing that bird had nothing to do with the bow. I love Darton. If Darton made a bow that decocked, I'd still be shooting a Darton. Ted Harpum of Darton is a very, very good friend of mine. And I asked him, Ted, I said, are you guys going to make... Oh, he helped. Oh, Zach. Now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Zach Grove. I got you. Okay. Thanks, Johnny. I talked to Ted about this. I said, Ted, does Darton have any plans of making a decocking bow? A bow you can decock. And the reason that's a big deal to me is if you can't decock your bow at the end of the hunt, you have 2 options. You can unload it, but leave it cocked and put it in your case and be walking around and driving around with a unloaded but cocked crossbow. Or you can, and I don't really like to do that, or you can shoot the bow into a target in the back of your truck or shoot it into the sand or whatever. I don't want to do that anymore. So when Ted said, no, Mike, we have no plans of making a decocking crossbow, I said, Ted, don't be mad at me, but I'm going to go get the 10-point. He said, I get it. He said, we don't buy into the concept of a decocking bow. He said, but I get it. Scott Hands, skinny water bite was good for Blake and him Saturday. Should be red hot this weekend. Excellent, Scott. Thanks for that. Scott, are you filled up with walleye for warriors? Are you booked with with boat captains now? Don't even start with me, Johnny. Don't even try to sweet talk me now. I do love Darton. Darton is a great Michigan-made bow. They're still made in Michigan. They're not owned by a Michigan owner anymore, and so it's like everything in the world. It's changing. Joe's going to go turkey hunting for the first time this spring on Sunday. Excellent. Tim says that's the reason he never liked muzzleloaders. You can't unload them. Well, you can, but you got to pull the trigger, right? No, I love the fact that you can cock and decock. That's why I got a 10-point. You can cock it and decock it. It doesn't click as you're cocking it. And when you're unwinding it, or when you're either cocking it or decocking, you can take your hand right off the handle and it doesn't fly around and hit you. And when I saw my son James's 10-point last fall, late last summer, I said, "Oh, that's a nice bow." The Dartons are nice bows. It was really weird for me not to get a Darton. It is what it is. Jason saw Big Bear and Germ Fast. He's not on here right now, so I won't. Hello, Joe. Good evening. I won't. Scott says you can unload black powder if you have screw-in breech plug. Scott, as far as I know, we are full with captains and veterans. It can change each week as we get closer to the event meeting next Monday to verify. Okay. I haven't killed him yet, but here's what I ran into. You see that bird on the right there, Josh? It's obviously a hen, but it's got a beard. Keep playing. Now in Michigan, you don't have to shoot a tom. You have to shoot a bearded bird. So that bearded hen right there on the right is a legal target. So that's the only bearded bird I've had in front of me since opening morning. But I think things are going to change here. Tim says, does it have a reverse switch like a boat winch? Nope. You crank it one way to cock it. You crank it another way to uncock it. How's the trigger on the new crossbows? I have an older dart and the trigger seems very heavy. The trigger's good. It's a 2-stage trigger. You take up the slack on this 10-point, then you fire. The dart and triggers are much better than they used to be. The newer triggers are pretty darn good. The 10-point's loud. I think it's actually louder than the Darton. Jeff says he got an older Excalibur. Excalibur is the recurve limb crossbow, isn't it? Pretty cheap. Still have yet to hunt with it, like brand new. I didn't, John. I didn't. Mike Horswell is on here tonight. He's one of the guys I bought it from. I didn't know Barnett's were ever made in Michigan. I didn't know that. Did not know that. Yeah, it's interesting. Working on a live Facebook this year for Walleye for Warriors. Talk to you more about this soon. I can help you do that, Scott. I know a little something about that kind of stuff. Scott Hand saw on Walleye for Warriors Facebook, a lot of vets have not received email verification. They say they've sent them out. Just saying, Scott, just an FYI. A lot of moving pieces on an event like that. All volunteers. They do a great job. Stacy, hi, Mike. We're going after walleye and hopefully a tom that I'm after. I got a bearded hen last year. Cool. I figured they might be able to help you out. My dad and I were talking about it. Don't know if something is loose, holding the scope. I don't know. I don't know, John. Everything's tight. I have it dialed in once again. I've switched broadheads. They're grouping. They're flying very well. If the next time I pick it up and take it to the target, it's shooting left, then we got a problem. Then I'll go back to J's. I don't feel like it is. I feel like I finally got it figured out. I was thinking about that, Jeff. It's no big deal for turkeys. It's no big deal for bear because you're right on top of them. But I did think about putting the limb saver string dampening devices on that crossbow. Matt just got home taking his mom turkey hunting, called in 12 birds. She got a nice Jake. Excellent. Ed says barnettes were made in Port Huron in the 80s. I did not know that. No, thank you, John. I appreciate it. All right, Tim, have a great night. Good week. So here's my plan now for turkey hunt. Tomorrow I'm going to go out to this new property I'm on. I don't have property of my own, but I have friends who have property, and I'm making new friends who have properties that have turkeys on them. So I'm going to go out there tomorrow. Hi, Bruce. I'm going to go out there tomorrow and move the blind. I got a Wraith 270 see-through blind set up there. I'm going to move the blind tomorrow and probably then won't be able to hunt till Friday morning, but I'll be out there Friday morning. And I've got this feeling now. I'm hunting Joey. I'm hunting ZZ, which is Southern Michigan private land. The northern tier of ZZ. Helped yours a lot. Okay, good. So I don't know if the weather is anything less than terrible. I just got a feeling that it might happen Friday morning, and I don't know why I feel that way. I got a feeling. Wasn't there a song like that? Got a feeling. All righty. Told you who was on the show this week. Talked about some of the things that were on my mind. I reminded you of your Michigan bear and elk tags. I showed you the video of the bearded hen. What I haven't done is remind you of my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have a picture you want me to share, the best way to do that used to be posted on Facebook and I could click a button and share it. Not anymore. If you want me to share a picture, the best way to get it to me is send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Best way to get in touch with me for any reason. Complaints, criticisms, story ideas, or questions. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Thanks for joining me, my friends, on this edition of Wednesday Night Live.